Welcome back, panelists here. Jose Diaz-Balart, anchor of Saturday NBC Nightly News, among other jobs. A lot of them, more of them at Telemundo. Yamiche Alcindor, White House correspondent for PBS NewsHour. Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief of USA Today. And Arthur Brooks, president of the American Enterprise Institute and author of the new book, Love Your Enemies, How Decent People Can Save America from the Culture of Contempt. Good luck with that, Arthur.
Well, thank you. Let's start today.
Well, let's start. Arthur, I want to start with you, with Beto O'Rourke, because in some ways, you and I spent a lot of time this week about your book, and he is trying to be an uplifting messenger.
Right.
You try to be an uplifting messenger from a conservative point of view, but I would say this, he's a lot of optimism, but the question is there any there? Do you sense there?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think that he basically has ascertained that America does not want another player in the outrage industrial complex. Right. And he has to do one thing. He knows that for a Democrat to beat Donald Trump, you have to be basically nice, normal, and not weird. And so that's what he's trying to do. Now, the problem is he has to backpedal all the time. He has to apologize. He says, yeah, I'm out of town a lot. My wife has to take care of the kids when I'm gone. Pretty normal joke. And now he has to backpedal and apologize for it. That's a mistake for him to do that, in my view. Not that he's asking my point of view. Mm-hmm. But I actually believe that the brand of being normal and nice can be incredibly successful. Not to be outraged, not to fire people up in the way that they hate others and treat other people with contempt. So far, so good. Now he's got to have some more substance going forward, as you pointed out, and we'll see.
There's another challenge here. Susan, let me read you from the Daily Beast. Under the unbearable male privilege of Beto O'Rourke, and this is what the author writes. It's not news that women have to be at least twice as qualified and still expect at least twice as much criticism and doubt. But the Beto reception points to a problem that persists specifically in presidential politics today. For both Democrats and, as the current presidency clearly illustrates, Republicans, we have a bias towards newness, conflict, and theater. By the way, the contrast between Beto and Klobuchar, if you will, in the two ways they're going about this, I think this is emblematic.
Pretty remarkable. Of course, Amy Klobuchar probably could not have thought of herself as born to be president, because when she was born, women just generally could not aspire to be president. And as a matter of fact, you may have noticed we've not yet had a woman as president even today. So that's a message that may persist with some little girls. So of course she doesn't come with that sort of confidence about her role in the world. But what she does offer is centrism, pragmatic views, an achievable message. What does she want to achieve? Let's bring down healthcare costs. What does he want to achieve? Let's heal the nation. Those are very different approaches to presidential politics.
I was thinking about your exchange, though, with Senator Klobuchar when you asked her about reparations. And instead of articulating all the different inequalities that come with black people and white people in this country, she pivoted to climate change. She pivoted to talking about all Americans. And that's a message that, of course, should be had by Democrats. But I think a Democratic Party, especially the Democratic base, is hungry for someone to say, I know that things aren't equal, and I'm not just going to lift all boats. I'm going to look at this little boat here and say African Americans have particular problems that stem from slavery, and let's look at them in a way where we can actually look at things not just as all people. I think Beto is going to have some issues when it comes to people receiving him in this party, because I think we're looking at all of these candidates with 2019 eyes. After the Me Too movement, after Ferguson, we're looking at him and saying, okay, you have your wife in this 3-minute video. Why can't she speak? So I think that there are a lot of people, not to say that she should speak, but there's just people that are looking at it and saying, if the wife is going to be there, why not have her say something? So I think that some of this might be outrage, right? Some of this people might say you're being too politically correct. But I think Beto's going to have to navigate that.
And yet Beto is the one that gets the Vanity Fair cover. Yet Beto is the guy who, with the dog and the pickup truck, is on every cover, of magazines. Why is that? Why is it that someone is chosen to be the poster person for what's hot and interesting at the time? Why is it that people who have deep thoughts, and Klobuchar had some very interesting policy positions, I'm talking about Venezuela, which is, by the way, going on right now, and it's a crisis that we must deal with. But why is it that he is the flavor of the month?
Because he's
what?
Telegenic, because he's attractive. I mean, it's the truth of the matter is he's somebody that people want to look at. The same reason that people are talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. is because she's attractive. People want, she's interesting. She's nice to look at on television, and that's what television does. It gives you an image along with a message.
Magazines as well.
Magazines as
But I
well,
think
absolutely.
A huge opportunity, not a guarantee. And you think, is he John Edwards or is he Ronald Reagan? Well, the fact is, Ronald Reagan was good looking and he was fresh and he was interesting and he had a lot of very specific policy proposals that he had developed over decades of thinking about them. So on day one, Beto O'Rourke doesn't need to know what he thinks about Medicare for all or have a coherent answer on impeachment. On day 50, he better.
Yeah,
That's why I think we're going to see a vetting of that. I think people are going to look at Beto and say, why is he getting this cover? And I was reading that article about the kind of the white male privilege that writer from Daily Beast was writing about. And she said, well, why does he get to say that he's not exactly sure of things and gets to go on this kind of tour where he thinks about himself? I would say that Stacey Abrams, someone who hasn't announced but said she's still thinking about 2020, she said, look, I'm still dealing with the after effects of running for governor and losing. I think people are okay with that from a black woman. So I in some ways, would push back from the idea that only Beto could do that.
All right, there is another. You brought up Stacey Abrams, and by the way, Dan Balls this morning, I mean, she's clearly leaning more into a presidential perhaps than I think many people realize. But let me play that clip again from Joe Biden last night. And forget the accidental slip up. Listen to the first part of what he said very carefully. Here it is.
Told I get criticized by the new left. I have the most progressive record of anybody running for the if anybody who would run.
It was a very important tell. Not the second part, the first part. Susan Page, he's going to run on the Obama-Biden record, and he's going to say, whatever you want to say, that's the new standard bearer for progressivism. Top it. I did it. He's running his third term. Can you look back and be the candidate of the future?
Historically, no. Historically, that is a really hard thing to do. And Joe Biden has another problem, which is that he wasn't first elected as Obama's vice president. He had a long history in public office, including some aspects of his career that do not represent the most progressive parts of the American government or of the American left. So this is not a statement he's going to be able to make and get by with. He's going to be challenged on where does he stand, and where does he stand, as you say, looking forward, not looking back, either to the 8 years of the Obama-Biden administration or to his years in the Senate before that.
You know, it's interesting to me. The question I have is, can he handle 6 months of Iowans kicking the tires on other candidates while his support goes down a little bit? Maybe he's there as the okay, we're for Biden, but they have to go through these other phases.
They have to go through these other phases, and they have to also, he's going to be vetted in a way that 2019 is going to look at all the things he does. I'm waiting for the Anita Hill interview. I'm waiting for the person who starts talking to him about integration and his writings about whether or not he thinks that integration is still a problematic thing, as he said in the past. There's going to be a vetting of Joe Biden. Right now, I think the name recognition is why he's at the top of the ticket when you poll Iowans, and nationally, I think that there's going to be a vetting.
I am looking forward to the debate that NBC and Telemundo and MSNBC.
Look at you.
The first debate with all the candidates.
Yeah.
His key strength is going to be that he's going to say he's a uniter, not a divider. When he said the new left, that's the key thing.
Boy, that
the
was
new
an
left,
interesting.
He was basically saying that these are a bunch of dividers. They're trying to whip people up and make people hate each other, and I'm not going to do that because I didn't do it with Obama.
I'm glad you brought up that phrase, too. That was an important message he was sending to the party.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.